Hi, this is Lauren, and I'll be your art tour guide for today. So today's focus will be on the Impressionist art and the focus on Claude Monet's life and his past artworks. Throughout this video, we'll take a deeper look into the importance of this art movement and why Monet is a key figure during the Impressionist era. Okay, let's get started. So by now you might be wondering, what is Impressionist art, and who is this Monet dude? To answer your question, let's start off by explaining what Impressionist art is. Impressionist art is an art movement that started in the 19th centuries and was considered to be the first modern movement for painting. This new form of art started in Paris, France during the 1860s, which led to an influential spread throughout many countries, throughout the entire Europe and even as far as the United States. The founding fathers of this art movement at this time were known as the rebel artists. Together, refused conformity to strict and rigid codes of standards for paintings during the 1870s. Together, the painters were rejected as a whole, and at this time were not well-known artists like they are known today. Painters who did not follow the strict rules for painting were then rejected from the Paris expeditions called salons, which then led to the creation of painters gathering together and creating their own art expeditions and new movements called Impressionism. But before they were called Impressionists, the group of artists did not have a name for their art movement, and instead their main goal was to exhibit their work and not label it. In fact, the word Impressionist was coined by a man named Louis Leroy, an art critic who made a remark of the paintings on display at their exhibit, claiming that the artists' paintings looked unfinished and had left their final product looking like sketches or impressions rather than completed works of art. Impressionist artists deliberately left their paintings looking unfinished even when their artwork was completed. Impressionist artworks turned away from the detailing of their paintings, going away from the original standards of sharp edges and defined shapes as their finished product, and instead left their paintings looking fuzzy and undefined. Like the rebel artists they liked the criticism and instead embraced what the critics said about their art, and therefore embracing the idea of calling themselves and the art movement the Impressionist art. Impressionist artists love experimenting with several new techniques and materials that later became new characteristics of what Impressionist art looked like. They achieved this Impressionist art look by various art techniques that include using short, quick brush strokes, or in some cases did not use brushes at all, and instead applying paint straight out of the tube. In addition, colors become a major focus of the artist's paintings, where they use bright and pure colors as a way to create boldness and intensity to their artwork. Vividness was an important factor for their paintings. Therefore, the Impressionists loved the idea of using vibrant colors into their palette, such as blue, green, and yellow. They also played with the synthetic colors, such as ultramarine and cerulean blue, and had rarely mixed their paints together, which can lead to diminishing the intensity of the colors on the canvas. To add off of that, the Impressionist artists were obsessed with the idea of capturing the effects of light. Therefore, they practiced what is called plein air, where they could paint outdoors rather than from the inside, and would directly observe the natural lights and shadows, which they had incorporated into their paintings. All in all, the main focus of the Impressionist artists was to take on the modern aspects, which include the subject matter, the people, their lives, and the locations of what took place during this time era. Now that you've heard what Impressionist art is, I will be introducing to you who Monet is and some of his iconic paintings. Claude Oscar Monet was born on November 14, 1840 in Paris, France. He later moved to Le Havre with his family at the age of 5, which is a seaside town in northern France. His father was a successful grocer and later had eventually led him into a thriving ship chandlery and grocery business, leading them to a well-off life. His mother, on the other hand, had died when Monet was a young teenager, leaving him at the age of 15. As a child living in Le Havre, Monet loved to visit the ocean view and outdoor scenery close by his house. Oftentimes, this was a place where you could find Monet when he was out and about and running to this place for comfort. The outdoors was an early contributor for Monet's love and passion for painting out in the open. As a young child, Monet had received instruction at a college de Verviers, where famous neoclassical artist Jacques-Louis David attended. Monet, at a young age, innovated his creative artwork by enterprising his paintings for value, by selling his artwork for 20 francs apiece. This was his first success as an artist. During his early years of training as an artist, he experienced a pivotal change in 1856, where he became friends with Eugene Boudin, a famous landscape painter who painted in the scenes of the northern French coastal towns. Boudin became Monet's mentor, who encouraged him to paint and embrace painting outdoors using the technique style of art called plein air. This then changed Monet's constant perception of how art can be created and formed simply by saying, "It was a veil was torn from my eyes, and I understood, I grasped what painting could be." In 1859, Monet moved to Paris, where he studied art even though he was rejected from his scholarship. However, instead of choosing the primary route career as a salon painter, he enrolled in an art school called École des Beaux-Arts, attending avant-garde academic Suisse, where he met his future wife, an artist by the name of Camille Pissarro. Later, he drafted to serve to the military in Algiers in 1861, which led a huge impact on his perception of life, affecting his artwork. After he returned from his service and was no longer needed, he left to go to Paris, where he attended the studio of Swiss artist named Charles Glenier, home to the future Impressionist artists of the time. Monet's lifetime of artworks became a very popular artistic movement that even leaves an impact today, which includes the evidence of massive consumption of his artwork in forms of calendars, posters, and postcards. The artist's masterpieces are sold at a top-notch price, sold at auctions today. Even some of his artworks are found to be priceless forms of art. His artwork is displayed everywhere in every major museums worldwide. He was a founding father of the French Impressionist paintings and was a practitioner of implementing the movement's philosophy of expressing a perception before nature with the landscape painting. Even after his death on December 5, 1926, Monet's work became influential factors which helped the creation of arts known today like abstract expressionism, pop art, and minimalist art movements. Monet Impressionist art is what is used as a basis for a modern and contemporary art. One of Monet's most famous figure painting of all time is this painting shown here, and it is called The Woman with a Parasol. This painting was done outdoors and was painted during a duration of time where Monet would paint his object outside for as long as the sun was out. The artist's main intention for this artwork was to capture a casual family outing in the outdoor environment, rather than taking a formal family portrait. This way, he was able to capture a more natural, candid scene of his subjects, rather than positioning and placing them in a rigid and particular spot and angle. He wanted this painting to look as if this picture was not staged and to look as casual as possible, where he portrays his family taking a stroll outside in the beautiful fields. Monet adopts a low vocal viewpoint where his subjects are viewed above rather than from the center of the photo. This then creates an emphasis on Callie, the subject, also known as his wife, making her look iconic by the placement of his wife taking the center stage of attention and focal of this picture. Monet achieved this contrast of this painting between both the light and shadows shown in this image. He achieves the direction of the sun in the painting by contrasting the figure's face and clothing, indicating that the direction of where the light is coming from is from the left to the right of the painting. Wherever the shadow is shown, that's where the light hits the object, and in this case aims towards the lady on the right. Also in the image, Monet's light and shadow is shown throughout the parasol she is holding in her hand. In Monet's figure artwork involving women, he uses parasols as a recurring theme shown throughout his paintings. The primary reason why parasols were incorporated into Monet's figure painting is because during this time period, women would typically use parasols when outdoors as a way for protecting their skin. The Impressionist artist was able to incorporate what he observed and saw and use this during this era by putting it into his paintings. And quite surprisingly, Monet was able to achieve painting light in the direction of the woman, but at the same time able to blur out her face with shadows from the parasol, which blurred out her defined face. The colors used in this picture uses various amount of blue, green, and white, and yellow, making this painting look very lively. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope by the end of this video that you will be able to understand and take in what Impressionist art is and why Monet was a key important factor during this time era. Have a great day.